Now, are you following in your father's footsteps by being the head of the Habrikach Association today?
When both my parents died, not together, we thought of doing something to honor them. And we looked into a couple of things, and we decided the Bricha is not known. It's a chapter, a heroic, great, unbelievable chapter in the history of Judaism and Israel, which somehow had managed to be not known, to be lost in the track of history. Many Jews, because it was partly because it was so hush-hush, unknown. People didn't know. The Bricha people themselves didn't know. Like somebody told, one of the Bricha persons told me in Israel, somebody told us to mount the train, go on the train. So we went on the train. And I assume now that he had tickets and he had papers and he knew what he was doing. And then somebody told us to get off the train. So we went off the train with a lot of trust in people they didn't know before. So we went off the train, and somebody was waiting for us and gave us tea and sandwiches and took us to a place and took care of us, and then they moved us to somebody else. They didn't understand what was going on. It was so,
Like uncharted territory.
Yeah, it was. So the people themselves didn't know how they moved from one place to the other. Sometimes they say that the Red Cross helped them because the Red Cross was legal and known. Sometimes they say that the Joint Jewish Philanthropic Agency helped them because it was legal and known. And they did help them. The ones that carried the Bricha were just unknown. You didn't know who they were and how they would do it, how they were doing it, and why. Well, they were doing it. For example, one time in Austria, they decided the British had closed from Austria you wanted to go to Italy. And from Italy you'd go on the ships. Once you reached Italy, Italians were very hospitable. And it was mostly legitimate, and there were Jewish camps, the Bricha had camps, and they were not illegal anymore. And so they wanted to go to Italy. So the British, in 1947 mostly, the British had closed all the ways from Austria to Italy. The main route was called the Kvish Baruch Hashem, I'll remember in a minute, where lorries could go, our transportation. It's still there now. It's a big, huge highway. At the time it was a small road. The Brenner Pass. The Brenner Pass was the pass between Austria and Italy, and it was in the British Army zone. So they closed it completely before it was closed. But how somehow Jews, the stories of how Jews, if we have time, I can tell you a story. But the one I want to tell you now is, so they had made a DP camp in an Austrian city near the Alps, hoping to cross the Alps by foot or to cross through the French zone. And Salzburg was a big, very big Bricha center. There were about 7 or 8 camps, refugee camps in Salzburg. So the way from Salzburg to this Saalfelden city where they had a new camp was through, the best way was go through Germany, through a little part of Germany. So they would take the people on a lorry, go to Germany. Some of the people would stay in Germany because German camps, DP camps in Germany were much better. The life situation was much better. And people from Germany who wanted to go quicker to Israel would go on the lorry. And the lorry would start with like 30 people from Salzburg and arrive 30 people at Saalfelden near the Alps. But maybe different people with the same ID and with the same papers. Some stayed in Germany, some from Germany went on the... So, they were doing like really inventive, extraordinary. And people didn't know. The Holocaust survivors themselves didn't know. You wanted to go to Germany? Okay, this is your station, get out. Get off the car and you get papers. You want to go to Austria and move quicker to go on. But the whole organization of this trip, they were not aware, people, the Holocaust survivors, of the whole plan of things. So my father was supposed to go for half a year, and they kept him for 2.5 years. And he came back when the Bricha almost ended, to the voices of the guns of the Atzmaut, of the Independence Day War in Israel. And he, most of the time, he had many different identities, mostly a Holocaust survivor. He spoke Polish, he spoke Yiddish, he spoke Russian. He knew the Russian people because who came from Siberia. So that's my father.